Hi, I'm Mark, this is On Your Marks Run. This is my 9th week of Manchester Marathon training. Hi, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're keeping well and you're enjoying your running and training. So just a quick recap on last week's video where I went through my 8th week of marathon training. I also spoke about the Eastbourne half marathon, which was my longest run at marathon pace so far in this training block. In this week's video I'll be covering my 9th week of marathon training and how it went. This was my most important week of training so far, and I had my 20-mile build-up race at the end of this week, and this is where I was going to test my marathon pace and whether it was achievable over that longer distance. So similar to last week, I've deviated from the marathon plan. I've got a race at the end of the week, so yeah, I've done more easy and steady paced runs, and I've been saving my legs for the race at the end of the week. Yeah, so I just go through the week day by day. So on the Tuesday I did a 5-mile easy pace run on our Peloton treadmill. That included a couple of fun classes, which was nice. I had done the Eastbourne half marathon on the Sunday, so it was quite nice to do some fun recovery workouts on the tread. Yeah, I think the pace was just under 10-minute miling, so that was nice and comfortable and enjoyable, so that was good. And then on the Wednesday I decided to do a 10-mile steady run. The idea was to get those longer miles done earlier in the week, so it didn't have too much effect on the race Sunday. And yeah, I think I did the 10 miles in an average pace of about 8:40. So it was a good steady pace, enjoyed the run, and of course more miles on feet and added to my total miles for the week. Yeah, so that was a good training run. And then on the Friday I had a few chores to do. I had to pick up the car from the garage, so I decided to do a run walk down to the garage to pick it up. I think I ended up with about 7 miles. Yeah, no particular pace in mind, and it was more about just keeping the legs turning over, ready for Sunday. Now on a Saturday I usually do like to do a park run, but I decided against it this week. Obviously I had an important race to run, but of course there's nothing stopping me going down there and volunteering. So I did. I volunteered to Marshall, and of course that got me 1 or 2 miles of walking in, where you have to walk to your post. And yeah, that was an enjoyable morning. Obviously you get to see your friends run. It's a bit different watching as opposed to running, but yeah, I certainly recommend that if you've got an event that you're doing on the Sunday, and you know, why not give back a little bit and volunteer. So yeah, that was a good morning, enjoyed that, and of course saved my legs for the race the next day. And then on the Sunday, the most important part of my marathon training has arrived. We've got to the LYDD 20-miler race, which is a dress rehearsal for the Manchester Marathon. So this race takes place in Kent in the UK, in the south of England. It's a pan flat course which is on marshland roads and lanes, and yeah, it's perfect really for that dress rehearsal race. You can keep a nice steady pace the whole way round because it's a flat, there's not much traffic on the road. Yeah, it's a little bit barren, there's not a lot of cover, so if it is windy, obviously that will play a part. Likewise, if it's really hot and sunny, there's no shelter. And if the conditions are good, it's the perfect course to try out your marathon pace, all your kit, race shoes, gels, all that kind of thing, and make sure that you've got everything right for the actual race. So the actual weather on the day was a light rain, but it was persistent, so it pretty much rained for the whole race. But it was a calm day, wasn't very windy, so it was actually not too bad conditions. So I did use my race shoes today. I used my club vest and all the other kit and nutrition that I would use on the marathon. And the race shoes that I used on the day were my New Balance Fuel Cell Super Comp Elite version 3, which are great shoes. They're carbon plated. I'll be using these on the Manchester Marathon. Yeah, I've got many a PB with these shoes, so I do like them. And of course I tested out all the kit that I'll be using race day, including my club vest. I also tried out my nutrition again, although I have been using this on most of my long runs. I just wanted to reinforce that that is the right nutrition for me to keep me fueled for the marathon. This LYDD race actually does have two distances. Obviously I was running the 20 miler, but it does run alongside the half marathon. Now both distances start at the same time. Now there is a cut-off time for both distances, which I believe is 4 hours, but there is a provision to start 30 minutes earlier. Yeah, so that's quite good. Yeah, so after a short warm-up with a couple of friends from my club, we lined up and got started, and I soon got into my pace. Obviously I wasn't 100% sure of my marathon pace, which is kind of part of the purpose of this race. But after a couple of miles I settled down onto about a 7:42 pace, and I kept that going for a few miles. And I tried not to look at the watch too much. I wanted to kind of settle into a natural pace where I didn't have to push too much. And I was taking my gels every 5 miles, and I think after the first gel I looked at my watch again and I was still under the 7:45 pace, and I felt quite at home doing this pace. Of course I had been doing tempo miles up to 9 miles, and I did do the Eastbourne half at that kind of pace, so I certainly knew I was good at least until the turn point to keep that pace up. And when I did reach that turn point, I was on, I think I was bang on the 7:45 pace, and I wanted to try and keep that going as long as I could. And I was still feeling good after that 10-mile mark, but you could feel the screws start to turn very slightly. And when I did get to the 15-mile, I was still on that 7:45 pace, which I was pleased about, but I was starting to feel it a bit. But of course it was 15 miles, so that's to be expected. And then after that 15-mile point, I did track my average pace every mile, trying to make sure that I kept that pace, even if it was just for one more mile. And I think I did drop 1 or 2 seconds average pace. I think at one point I might have been on the 7:47 average for the race, but then the closer to the finish I got, obviously that adrenaline starts to kick in a bit, and I managed to up the pace and managed to finish bang on the 7:45 pace. So I was really pleased with that. If I can do that on race day, I'll be over the moon. And of course you do have a taper to come, all that nutrition, you know, you're going to be full of energy and excitement on marathon race day, so hopefully that'll add something to my performance, or at least keep me going for that extra 6 odd miles. Now I have done this 20-mile race several times before at varying levels of fitness. When I achieved my marathon PB, I did this race as a warm-up race again, and the PB was 2:38.50 something, but this time I came in at 2:35 something. Yeah, so knocked a good few minutes off, so I'm definitely in good shape. So I suppose on race day, if everything was perfect, I was feeling good, no illnesses, weather's good, it is possible to go for that PB. But as we all know, in a marathon there's so many variables, you don't know what's going to go wrong. So yeah, I'll just take whatever I can do on the day. So I did reduce my running down a little bit this week and did the harder runs earlier in the week, and then walked a bit more as the week went on. It was almost like a little micro taper just to prepare for the race on the Sunday. So my total running for the week, not including any cross training or walking, was 35 miles, and that included my 20-mile marathon pace race. Yeah, so although it was lower mileage than normal, obviously it was a real high quality week, so I was really pleased with that. So my last 4 weeks of marathon training have been pretty tough. I think I've had 2 20-mile training runs. I've obviously had LYDD, which was 20 again, but of course marathon pace. And then I also had the Eastbourne half marathon, which was again at marathon pace. Yeah, so that's been 4 Sundays of pretty hard runs, although there's been a cutback week, but of course I still did do that race at the end. Yeah, so I'm certainly looking forward to a well-deserved cutback week and not do anything silly like book any races. Yeah, and try and do the right things, get plenty of rest in, some sleep, and eat some good food, ready for the next harder week. But yeah, there's not many hard weeks left now. As I say, after this cutback week, I think I've got 1 more 20 to do, and then I think it's taper time. So yeah, we're getting through it, getting nearer to race day, and I'm looking forward to it. So that was my 9th week of Manchester Marathon training. Hope your training's going well, whatever event you're doing, London, Manchester or Brighton, or any other race you've got booked. Yeah, I guess we're all getting near the end of our training blocks for these spring marathons. I guess we've got mixed feelings, maybe nerves and excitement. Yeah, feel free to add something in the comments section. Be good to see how you guys are doing, how confident you are for race day. Well, that's it for this week. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, maybe like, subscribe and hit the notifications bell so you can see future videos on my progress during marathon training, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.